Imagine this. You're lying in your bed, half asleep, when suddenly two radiant beings, brighter than the sun, appear at your side. Their eyes blaze like fire, their wings shimmer with gold, and their voices echo with songs not of this world. They call your name, not to warn you, but to take you beyond the sky itself. What if heaven didn't wait until after death? What if someone, just like you, was taken there alive? Today we begin a journey through one of the most mysterious and overlooked revelations in all of ancient scripture. The 10 heavens shown to Enoch before the flood. This isn't myth or metaphor, this is a guided tour through realms unseen, as recorded in the ancient Book of Enoch. You'll discover the layers of the heavens, the beings that dwell in each one, and the powerful truths about judgment, glory, and eternity hidden in Enoch's ascent. And it all starts with a dream that wasn't just a dream. When I first read this, I felt the weight of the unknown, wonder, fear, awe. I realized this is more than ancient vision. It's a warning, a promise, a mirror. Are you ready to dive deeper? If so, comment 777 and don't forget to like and subscribe. Your engagement keeps these videos coming. Before Enoch was ever taken to heaven, before he wrote a single word of what he saw, something strange happened. On the night everything changed, Enoch wasn't in a temple or on a mountaintop. He was resting at home, just another quiet evening, when eternity cracked open around him. This moment marks the beginning of Enoch's transformation from earthly man to divine witness. His story begins not with action, but with distress, and then with visitation. Enoch writes that it happened when he was 365 years old. He had just begotten his son, Methuselah, and perhaps like many fathers, he felt a deep shift in his soul. He lay in his house, alone, and slept. But his sleep was disturbed, not by noise or pain, but by overwhelming distress in his heart. Tears streamed from his eyes, even in sleep. And when I was asleep, great distress came into my heart, and I was weeping with my eyes in the sleep, and I could not understand what this distress was. It's a strange detail, isn't it? Why the tears before the vision? Maybe God was already touching his spirit, preparing his heart to receive the glory and terror to come. Suddenly, 2 figures stood at the head of his bed, not men, at least not as we understand men. Towering in height, their faces blazed like the sun, and from their lips, literal fire emerged. Their robes gleamed with the purples of royalty, and their wings shone brighter than burnished gold. They weren't just beautiful, they were overwhelming, and they called him by name, Enoch. He awoke, terrified, and the appearance of my face was changed from fear. But these weren't angels of wrath. They spoke softly, with authority and calm. Have courage, Enoch. Do not fear. The eternal God has sent us to you. This is one of the earliest biblical moments where human and divine worlds collide so directly, without a temple, without sacrifice, without death. Just presence, just grace. Enoch was chosen. They told him plainly, "Today you will ascend into heaven with us." But first, he had to say goodbye. Picture it, Enoch rushing through his home, gathering his sons, Methuselah, Arejim, and God. He warns them not to seek him, for he doesn't know what lies ahead. He gives them instructions to fear God alone and never bow to vain idols. This moment is more than personal. It's prophetic. Enoch knows he's walking into the unknown, possibly never to return. But he trusts the voice of the one who sent these messengers. "Let no one seek me," he says, "until the Lord returns me to you." And with that the angels lifted him up. They carried him not into death, but into the clouds. The sky opened, and the journey began. Below him, the earth shrank. Above him, layers upon layers of divine reality waited to be revealed. He had become more than a man. He was now a witness, a messenger. Think about this. Enoch wasn't a prophet in a palace. He didn't come from a long line of seers. He was a father, a craftsman, a righteous man in a wicked world, and yet he was chosen. Why? Because God always sees those who walk with him. So ask yourself, are you awake to the call of heaven, or are you sleeping while eternity knocks? This first chapter gives us both a gift and a warning. God sees, God calls, but not everyone will answer. Enoch did, and his story changed forever. But this is only the beginning. The heavens above us are not empty, and what waits there will stretch your imagination and your soul. So far, we've seen Enoch's calling, the moment heaven reached down. But what happens when he steps beyond the clouds? What does the first heaven look like, and who rules over it? What Enoch sees there will shake the way you think about the sky itself. So far, we've seen Enoch called by radiant beings and lifted from his home, rising through clouds and into realms no mortal had ever seen. But what lay ahead was far greater. As the angels carried him higher, heaven's first layer unfolded before his eyes, and it was nothing like the skies we know. The first heaven is not just the sky. It's a living, spiritual realm, a place where the natural and supernatural intertwine. As soon as Enoch arrived, he saw something that shattered his understanding of creation, a sea greater than any ocean on earth. This was just the beginning. The Book of Enoch tells us that the angels placed him gently upon the clouds. From there he looked and saw the ether, a word that speaks of the pure upper air. And beyond it, an ocean, not mist, not vapor, but a massive sea, greater than any body of water Enoch had ever known. They placed me on the first heaven and showed me a very great sea, greater than the earthly sea. This is what the ancient Hebrews might have called the waters above. It echoes Genesis chapter 1, verse 7, where God divided the waters under the firmament from the waters above it. To Enoch, this was no metaphor. It was a vast, shimmering reality. Imagine it, an ocean in the sky, not stormy, not chaotic, but calm, majestic, sacred. As Enoch gazed in awe, angelic hosts appeared before him, elders and rulers of the stellar orders. These weren't just beautiful lights. These were beings who governed the stars themselves. He was introduced to 200 angels who oversaw the movements and ministries of the stars. They flew on wings, circling the heavens and directing the cosmic orchestra with divine precision. These were not the random twinklings of dead space. These were living lights, servants of the Creator, operating under the careful supervision of heaven's law. They brought before my face the elders and rulers of the stellar orders, and showed me 200 angels who ruled the stars and their services to the heavens. Now pause and picture that. The night sky you see every evening is actually pulsing with intentional movement, governed by angelic stewards you've never seen. Then the vision shifts. Enoch is shown the storehouses, the sacred repositories of snow, dew, and clouds. Each element of nature is under angelic management. There are treasuries of snow, kept by fierce angelic beings who guard their flow and release. These are not mythological ideas. This was how the ancients understood God's precise control over creation. Even the dew, Enoch says, had its own treasure house, described like the oil of the olive, glowing with the colors of all the flowers of earth. It's vivid, poetic, and deeply structured. The clouds, too, have entrances and exits, gateways through which they pass, directed by divine command. This isn't random weather. This is intentional architecture. The use of words like treasure house or storehouse in ancient Hebrew often refers to a place of both mystery and purpose. These aren't just storerooms, they are sacred vaults. In Hebrew tradition, Otzar means treasure, reserve, or a hidden chamber. It's where God keeps his provisions, both for blessing and for judgment. This shows that even the ordinary elements of nature have extraordinary origins. Let's step back and ask, what if your next breath of air isn't just science, but sacred? What if every snowflake, every drop of dew, every glowing star has a guardian? Would you look at creation differently? Would you treat it with more reverence? Enoch's first glimpse of heaven reveals a spiritual ecosystem, alive, ordered, and awe-inspiring, and it humbles us. Because if this is just the first heaven, what wonders must await in the higher realms? There's also a quiet warning here. These systems aren't just beautiful, they're guarded. Heaven is not chaotic, it's structured. And that means God watches everything. He sees, he remembers, he governs. But for those who walk with him, like Enoch, the heavens are not terrifying, they're welcoming. We've stood in the first heaven and seen glory, but in the next realm, that glory turns to gloom. Next, we descend into the second heaven, a prison of fallen angels, bound in weeping, waiting for judgment. What did Enoch hear from those once glorious beings? And why were they chained in eternal night? You won't want to miss what happens next. From the light of the first heaven, Enoch was lifted again, higher, deeper. But this time, instead of beauty and glory, he was taken into a realm darker than any earthly night. The second heaven is not paradise, it is prison, and those who dwell there, former angels, now bound, fallen, and waiting. The ancient text of 2 Enoch describes the second heaven not as a place of wonder, but of weeping. It is a dimension of despair, thick with spiritual darkness and sorrow. Enoch's journey wasn't just upward. Sometimes, to see heaven clearly, you must witness judgment too. As Enoch ascended into the second heaven, he was immediately struck by the overwhelming blackness. This wasn't just the absence of light. It was a living gloom, a spiritual weight. They showed me darkness greater than earthly darkness. It's a terrifying line. This darkness has depth. It has purpose. It hides something. And soon, Enoch saw what that was. Hanging in that darkness were prisoners. Not dead souls, not demons, but angels, once glorious, now in chains. These are apostates, exiles from God's presence, weeping without rest. There I saw prisoners hanging, watching and awaiting the great and boundless judgment. These beings had once stood before God's throne, but now they weep endlessly. Their torment is not only pain, but memory. They remember what they lost, and they're not just bound physically. They are bound in shame, regret, and the suffocating silence of being cut off from the light. Enoch, stunned, asks the angels, "Why are these beings so afflicted?" Their answer is piercing. These are God's apostates who obeyed not God's commands, but took counsel with their own will and turned away with their prince. Their prince, fastened in the fifth heaven, was once high among the stars, but pride led them to rebel. They followed their own will. They rejected the order of heaven, and for that, they were cast down and locked in eternal anticipation of a judgment yet to come. This isn't just ancient myth. It's a portrait of divine justice. Even angels are not beyond accountability. In a heartbreaking twist, the fallen ones see Enoch, and they speak to him. They recognize that he is not one of them, that he walks in the light, and they beg, "Man of God, pray for us to the Lord." Imagine that, beings once clothed in light, now begging a human for intercession. It flips the entire spiritual hierarchy. But Enoch, with humility, answers, "Who am I, a mortal man, that I should pray for angels?" He doesn't reject them out of pride, but out of awe. He is painfully aware of how small he is and how sacred God's justice is. The second heaven connects deeply with the story of the Watchers in 1 Enoch and Genesis chapter 6. These were the angels who descended, took human wives, and fathered the Nephilim, giants of corruption. In the Hebrew tradition, these were not just rebels. They were corruptors of God's creation. They crossed lines that even heaven could not tolerate. Jude verse 6 says, "And the angels who did not keep their positions of authority, but abandoned their proper dwelling, these he has kept in darkness, bound with everlasting chains for judgment." This second heaven is that prison. So what does this mean for us? First, it reminds us that rebellion always has a price. Even heavenly beings are judged when they cross divine boundaries. But second, it reveals something profound. Even in their chains, these fallen angels long for mercy. They cry out, they regret. The question is, do we? If angels in their torment can recognize the holiness of God and the authority of the righteous, shouldn't we be even more alert, even more reverent, even more ready to obey? Yes, this is a place of judgment, but even here, the hope is hidden in Enoch himself, because while the fallen are bound, he is not. While they weep, he ascends. And if we walk with God, as Enoch did, then no darkness, no judgment will hold us. So far we've seen the beauty of heaven's order and the terror of angelic rebellion. But now we move into the third heaven, a realm of fragrance, light, and paradise. There, Enoch sees a garden unlike any other, a tree with eternal fruit, a place where time does not decay. And he is told, this is the inheritance of the righteous. Next, we explore the place prepared for those who endure. You won't want to miss it. After the agony of the second heaven, where fallen angels weep in chains, Enoch was taken higher into light, fragrance, and joy. Here, the very air shimmered with sweetness. Trees bore fruit unknown to earth. And in the heart of this radiant garden stood the most mysterious object in all of Scripture, the tree of life. The third heaven is described in 2 Enoch as paradise, a realm unlike any on earth, set between corruption and incorruption. It is a place untouched by decay, where the righteous will dwell forever. And this is the first time Enoch is told directly, this place is prepared for the righteous. But what he sees there goes beyond beauty. It's nothing short of divine architecture. The moment Enoch arrives in the third heaven, he is overwhelmed, not by noise or light, but by scent. I looked downwards and saw the produce of these places, such as has never been known for goodness, sweet flowering trees, and their fruits, which were sweet-smelling. The garden was alive with fragrances too pure to describe. Each tree a fountain of color, taste, and aroma. These weren't earthly trees. They were spiritual. They weren't just alive. They were singing, in a way. And in the center of them all stood one tree. Not just a symbol, not a metaphor. Enoch sees it, tall, radiant, crowned in fire and gold. In the midst of the trees was the tree of life, ineffable in goodness and fragrance, adorned more than every existing thing, golden and vermilion and fire-like, and covers all. Its roots touch the edge of the earth. Its branches stretch beyond comprehension. Its fruit, eternal. This is the same tree barred from Adam and Eve after the fall, but here, Enoch sees it not as forbidden, but preserved. It awaits the righteous, and at its base is the place where the Lord himself rests when he walks in paradise. From this garden flow 2 divine springs, one of honey and milk, the other of oil and wine. These waters split into 4 parts, winding through the garden and back into the earth. And they separate into 4 parts and go round, and hence they go forth along the earth and have a revolution to their circle, even as the other elements. These are not just streams. They are symbols of divine provision, of abundance and purity, echoes of Eden. Everything in this realm speaks of restoration, not punishment, life, not death, order, not chaos. Paradise is not unguarded. Enoch is told there are 300 radiant angels who keep watch over the garden, singing day and night before the face of the Lord. Their voices are never silent, their songs rich with joy. They protect the space not from evil, but for the sake of purity. And when Enoch hears their harmonies, he can only whisper, "How very sweet is this place." This is where heaven becomes home, where worship is not forced, but flows naturally, like breath. The angels tell Enoch something vital. This place is not for the powerful. It is not for the proud. It is reserved for those who endure offense with patience, those who avert their eyes from evil, those who give bread to the hungry and clothe the naked, those who help the orphan, the fallen, and walk without fault before the Lord. For them, this place is prepared for eternal inheritance. This is not salvation through power, but through compassion, not through fame, but faithfulness. Ask yourself this: if this garden exists, if this is your promised inheritance, how would you live differently today? What if your quiet acts of kindness echo through the heavens? What if the way you respond to pain, injustice, or temptation is literally building your place in paradise? We often look for heaven later, but Enoch reminds us it's already prepared. The only question is, are we? And just as paradise fills Enoch's eyes, the angels pull him aside. They take him northward, and there he sees something opposite, a place of cold flame, screaming winds, and relentless punishment. Because for every heaven there is judgment. But for now, we cling to the hope, the radiant hope, that paradise exists, and it waits for the faithful. So far, we've seen beauty, mercy, and the reward of the righteous. But next, we descend again. In chapter 5, Enoch will enter the 4th heaven, where the mysteries of the sun, moon, and time itself are unveiled. He will witness the engines of the universe, the gates of light, the phoenixes of flame, the cosmic wheel of the sun, and the revelations are beyond anything you've heard in a science book. After beholding paradise, the tree of life, the fragrant garden, the angelic choir, Enoch was lifted once more. But now, he was not shown a realm of reward or judgment. Instead, he entered a domain of cosmic motion, where time itself was shaped and light was born. This was the 4th heaven, the realm of the sun, the moon, and the sacred calendar of heaven. In the 4th heaven, Enoch didn't just witness glowing orbs in the sky. He was shown how God regulates time, how celestial bodies obey divine commands, and how entire ecosystems of angels manage the movements of day and night. Here, astronomy becomes theology, and time becomes sacred. First, Enoch saw the sun and moon, each riding on massive wheels, surrounded by light, attended by angels. He was taught how the sun's brightness exceeds the moon's, how their circuits never rest, and how they operate like divine chariots. I saw all the rays of light of the sun and moon. The sun's circle and the wheels on which it goes are like the wind, marvelous in speed. The sun is never idle. It moves in divine rhythm, escorted by angelic hosts. According to Enoch, 15 myriads of angels accompany the sun daily, and by night, winged ones prepare it for the next cycle. This is not poetry. Its structure, time, real time, is supervised. Then Enoch saw something stunning, beings of fire and light who fly with the sun and serve as living engines of heat and praise. Their names are phoenixes and Kalkadri. Their size is 900 measures. They have feet like lions and heads like crocodiles. Let that imagery sink in. These are not earthly animals. They are cosmic beings, half flame, half mystery, who sing as the sun rises. Their voices signal dawn. Their songs awaken the birds of earth. Every bird flutters with its wings, rejoicing at the giver of light. Even nature responds to the song of heaven. Enoch is then led to the eastern gates, vast portals through which the sun enters each morning. He measures 6 gates, each 61 stadia wide, about 7.5 miles. Through these gates, the sun rises one by one, with the changing seasons. The period of the whole year is finished after the returns of the 4 seasons, and just as it rises, so too does it set, through 6 western gates, mirroring the eastern ones. This is not just beauty. It's mathematical holiness, precise, deliberate, upheld by unseen hands. But where does the sun go at night? Enoch is told, under the earth. The sun goes round on a wheel under the earth and stands 7 great hours in night. It travels in a hidden circuit, spending half its time below before returning to rise again. While unseen, its crown, its authority, remains with God in heaven, guarded by 400 angels. And when it rises again, the phoenixes sing, and all creation joins them. The giver of light comes to give brightness to the whole world. Enoch's vision challenges our modern thinking. We see time as mechanical, ticks and talks, but Enoch shows us that time is sacred architecture, maintained by spiritual beings responsive to divine will. Even the calendar, days, months, seasons, is governed from this realm. Enoch is even shown that the sun's full cycle is 28 years, and the lunar year falls short by 12 days, needing spiritual correction. He's told of lunar epochs, intercalary days, and a grand 532-year cycle. This is ancient astronomy, but laced with theology. What if the sun's rising wasn't just natural, but intentional? What if the moon's glow was a message, not just a reflection? Enoch's 4th heaven teaches us that everything around us, light, time, day, night, is held together not by chance, but by divine order. And if God governs the sun's flame and the moon's gates, can he not also guide your days? In a world that often feels chaotic, this chapter gives us hope. The heavens are not wild, they are watched. Even the stars answer to command. Your life, too, is not adrift. It moves, if you let it, by the rhythm of heaven. But the journey isn't over. After the 4th heaven's glory, Enoch ascends into a place of silence, sorrow, and stunned giants. Next, he enters the 5th heaven, home to the Grigori, silent watchers, fallen from their station, waiting in stillness for redemption. What caused their fall? Why do they no longer sing? And can their silence be broken? You'll find out next. From the fire and motion of the 4th heaven, Enoch was taken into stillness. The 5th heaven wasn't a realm of light or judgment. It was a place of sorrow. And the beings who dwelled there weren't singing. They weren't serving. They were watching, waiting. These were the Grigori, the watchers, once radiant, now silent. The 5th heaven is home to a strange and solemn company, angels who once had a place near God's throne, but fell into disobedience. Now they stand motionless, their faces withered, their songs gone. Enoch didn't just see them, He spoke with them. He saw their regret and their shame. As Enoch is carried up, he sees countless soldiers, massive humanoid figures, far larger than any man. But unlike the fiery archangels, these beings are still. Their faces are aged, hollow. I saw many and countless soldiers called Grigori of human appearance, greater than giants. Their faces were withered, and the silence of their mouths was perpetual. There is no service in this heaven, no singing, no praise, only silence and sorrow. Enoch asked his guides, why are their faces sunken? Why are they silent? Why do they not serve the Lord? The answer stuns. These are the Grigori who with their prince Satanael rejected the Lord of Light. They were once among the elite ranks of angels, but they followed pride. They listened to Satanael, another name for the fallen one, and turned from their creator, and it gets worse. 3 of them went down onto the earth. They saw the daughters of men, and took to themselves wives. This act was a violation of realms. These angels, meant to guide, descended into flesh. They mingled with humanity, taught forbidden knowledge, and gave birth to giants, the Nephilim. The earth was defiled, and heaven passed judgment. Enoch doesn't just observe. He feels. He sees their regret, etched into every line of their faces. They are not defiant. They are broken, and they weep for their fallen brothers, those held deeper in the darkness of the second heaven. And Enoch says something that breaks the silence. I saw your brethren, their great torments. I prayed for them, but the Lord has condemned them until the existing heaven and earth shall end. Imagine that, a human praying for angels. But God's decree is final. Their fate is sealed, not because God is cruel, but because they knew glory and turned from it. Then, in one of the most powerful moments in this heavenly journey, Enoch speaks to the watchers directly. Wherefore do you wait, brethren, and do not serve before the Lord's face? Why have you not put your services before him, lest you anger your Lord utterly? It's a gentle rebuke, not of condemnation, but of longing. And the Grigori respond. As if awakened, they speak to the other ranks of angels, and then something extraordinary happens. 4 trumpets trumpeted together, and the Grigori broke into song with one voice, and their voice went up before the Lord pitifully and affectingly. Their silence is broken. Their voices return, not for power, not for restoration, but out of repentance. The Grigori appear across ancient texts, especially in the Book of Enoch. Their name means watchers, or those who never sleep. Their fall is echoed in Genesis chapter 6. The sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves. These weren't myths. They were heavenly beings, entrusted with oversight, who chose passion over purity, and their punishment was greater because their knowledge was higher. Jude and Peter both refer to angels who sinned and were cast into gloomy dungeons to be held for judgment. That's the 5th and 2nd heavens. But Enoch's testimony adds this: some can still weep, some still long for God. Here's the question: if even the watchers can mourn their sin, what about us? If beings of glory, who stood before God, can fall, how much more must we guard our hearts? But also, if Enoch, a human, could call them back to praise, if his words moved the fallen to sing again, what might your voice do? Your prayers, your worship, your repentance. It matters, on earth and in heaven. The 5th heaven is a sobering place. It reminds us that spiritual pride is deadly, but it also whispers hope, because even in silence there can be a song. Even in shame, there can be movement. The God who judged is still listening, still watching. But Enoch's ascent isn't over. After this encounter, he is carried to the next level, the sixth heaven, where the highest orders of angels operate. There he will witness the architects of seasons, the governors of time, the writers of human souls. And at the center, a mystery of worship that human tongues can hardly describe. Next time we go higher, into the place where history is measured and destiny is written. From the sorrowful stillness of the fifth heaven, Enoch was lifted again, this time into brilliance. No tears, no regret, only radiant activity, organized light, and holy intelligence. This was the sixth heaven, where God's designs are executed, life is calculated, and the mysteries of nature, history, and destiny are kept and ordered by angelic hands. Unlike the lower heavens, the sixth is a place of intention and precision. It's not where worship is offered, it's where creation is managed. The angels here are not weeping, nor are they watching. They are working, brilliant, tireless, and united. Their task, governing everything that breathes, grows, shines, and flows. Enoch writes that he saw 7 bands of angels, all shining brighter than the sun. Their faces, garments, and movements were perfectly alike. No disorder, no division. I saw 7 bands of angels, very bright and very glorious. There was no difference in their faces, behavior, or manner of dress. This is unity in divine purpose. These aren't wandering spirits. They're administrators of reality itself. They study, they write, they enact commands from God Most High. Among these angels are those who govern seasons, years, stars, and planets. They are the unseen authorities behind nature's order. Some track the stars and ensure their paths. Some guide the revolution of the sun. Some regulate the moon's phases and the earth's growth cycles. These make the orders, learn the goings of the stars, the alteration of the moon, the revolution of the sun, and the good government of the world. Nothing is random. Even wind, waves, fruit, and grass fall under their oversight. But perhaps the most stunning revelation is this: the angels who write all the souls of men, all their deeds and their lives before the Lord's face. Yes, your life is being written down. Every act of kindness, every word, every moment of faith or rebellion is recorded by holy scribes who stand before God. They don't just write history, they write souls, tracking what you do with the breath you've been given. Enoch also sees something incredible. Amid these administrative angels are 6 phoenixes, 6 cherubim, and 6 six-winged ones, all singing with one voice, continually with one voice singing, and it is not possible to describe their singing. Their song is not for entertainment, it is for governance. Their voices stabilize the cosmos. Their melody is woven into the fabric of creation. They don't just worship, they hold the structure of heaven through sound. This concept isn't unique to Enoch. In Malachi chapter 3, verse 16, a book of remembrance is written before the Lord for those who fear him. In Daniel chapter 7, verse 10, the court sat and the books were opened. In Revelation chapter 20, verse 12, John sees the dead, great and small, standing before the throne, and books were opened, and the dead were judged according to what they had done. The idea that heaven keeps record is consistent, powerful, and sobering. Your life isn't forgotten, it's documented. We often feel unseen, forgotten, like our efforts don't matter. But here's the truth: heaven sees. When you forgive someone, heaven records it. When you resist sin quietly, heaven writes it down. When you choose mercy over vengeance, God notices. You are part of a much bigger pattern, and your choices ripple through the heavens. There's both awe and urgency here. Your life is not casual. It's recorded, measured, preserved. But this should not lead to fear. It should lead to faithfulness. Because if God has assigned angels to track your story, then He surely has a purpose for your journey. Nothing is wasted. We've now reached the edge of time and entered the place where stars are guided and souls are penned. But next, Enoch ascends into the seventh heaven, a dimension of fire and light where the greatest beings dwell. Thrones, dominions, seraphim, and many-eyed ones who surround the Lord's throne. And in the distance, Enoch sees something that freezes him in terror, the appearance of the Lord. Next we approach the very gates of God's glory. Enoch has now passed the guardians of time, the writers of souls, and the architects of creation, and now he reaches the seventh heaven, the highest place before the throne itself. Here, fire sings, light walks, and celestial armies kneel. Enoch does not just see angels. He sees the generals of glory surrounding a throne no man was ever meant to behold. In the seventh heaven, we encounter the heart of heaven's military and worship structure. This is the realm of seraphim, cherubim, thrones, dominions, and many-eyed ones. Enoch is not greeted here. He is undone, because in this place God's nearness burns. The first thing Enoch sees is overwhelming light, a brilliance that cannot be measured. Then come the forms, fiery troops, mighty archangels, and incorporeal forces whose power cannot be compared to anything on earth. There I saw a very great light and fiery troops of great archangels, dominions, orders, governments, cherubim, seraphim, thrones, and many-eyed ones. This is the engine room of worship and authority. These aren't angels with wings and robes. They are living thrones, living eyes, living fire. They don't just witness God, they reflect Him, and they never rest. Enoch writes of 9 regiments, ionic stations, arranged in perfect structure. These are spiritual ranks, positioned like a divine army, not to fight chaos, but to maintain glory. Each station serves in formation, rising in turn to bow before the throne, then returning to its place with joy. All the heavenly troops come and stand on the 10 steps according to their rank. They bow down to the Lord and go again to their places in joy and felicity. This is heavenly liturgy, worship in motion, designed by God Himself. It is ordered, rhythmic, eternal. At the very center, surrounding the throne, stand the seraphim and cherubim, those closest to God. Their description is staggering. 6-winged and many-eyed ones. They stand before the Lord's face, doing His will, covering His throne and singing, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. Heaven and earth are full of your glory." Their song never stops. It doesn't repeat. It unfolds, because infinite holiness can never be fully expressed. So they keep singing, not because they must, but because His presence demands it. Enoch is not exalting himself in this vision. He is terrified. I became afraid and began to tremble with great terror. And just as it seems he will collapse from the sheer weight of glory, his guides comfort him. Have courage, Enoch. Do not fear. This reminder is crucial. Enoch wasn't brought here to be destroyed. He was brought here to bear witness. This vision mirrors the prophet Isaiah's in Isaiah chapter 6. I saw the Lord seated on a throne, high and exalted. Above Him were seraphim, each with 6 wings, and they were calling to one another, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty." It also echoes Revelation chapter 4, where John sees living creatures, full of eyes, crying day and night, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come." The repetition of holiness is the ultimate song. In Hebrew, repetition amplifies meaning. Saying holy, once means sacred. Saying it 3 times means utterly beyond comprehension. We live in a world of distractions, but heaven is focused. Heaven is centered. Everything Enoch sees in the 7th heaven reminds us of one thing. God is not like us. He is other, holy, surrounded by flame and beauty so intense, even angels must cover themselves, and yet he invites us to worship, to witness, to draw near in awe and humility. This chapter should shake us. We are not the center of the universe. God is, and heaven is structured to reflect his glory, not ours. But here's the miracle. Even in all this terrifying majesty, God speaks to Enoch. He wants us to see, to understand, to approach him, not in arrogance, but in reverent awe. But the journey isn't over. Enoch is about to go higher, beyond the structures of heaven itself. Next, he will be carried into the 8th and 9th heavens, where the movements of stars, seasons, and constellations are set in motion, and where the architecture of time and space is shaped like music. What he sees there rewrites everything we think we know about the cosmos. Enoch has passed through paradise, judgment, cosmic machinery, and fiery worship. Now he ascends beyond even the worshipping seraphim to the final layers of the created order, the 8th and 9th heavens. Here, the stars are not random. The seasons are not luck. Everything, light, time, motion, has a heavenly design, and it's here that Enoch sees how the cosmos truly works. The 8th and 9th heavens are the realms of cosmic intelligence. These are not dwellings for angels, but for patterns, for purpose. In the 8th heaven, Enoch sees the governing forces behind the seasons and the celestial cycle. In the 9th, he witnesses the dwelling of the stars, home to the 12 constellations that define the very framework of time and history. The 8th heaven is Muzaloth, meaning movers or changers. I saw the 8th heaven, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Muzaloth, changer of the seasons of drought and wet. It governs not just weather, but timing. When rain falls, when drought comes, when the earth yields fruit or withholds it. The powers here control the delicate dance between abundance and barrenness. But there's more. This is the domain of the 12 constellations, those heavenly patterns we now call the zodiac. But in ancient times, they were not for horoscopes. They were signs, rhythms, calendrical markers. They shaped the festivals, the harvests, the rise and fall of kings. Next, Enoch enters the 9th heaven, Kochavim, which means stars in Hebrew. I saw the 9th heaven, which is called in Hebrew Kochavim, where are the heavenly homes of the 12 constellations of the circle of the firmament. These are the star homes, the lodgings of the lights we see in the night sky. But these aren't just balls of gas. They are dwelling places, fixed, ordered, assigned. Psalm 147 verse 4 echoes this when it says, "He determines the number of the stars and calls them each by name." To God, the stars are not background decoration. They are tracked, numbered, housed. This vision is theological. Enoch is seeing that even the furthest, coldest, most distant parts of creation are not chaotic. They are ordained. The 8th and 9th heavens show us that. Time has a structure. Seasons have a reason. The cosmos is a symphony, not a storm. What we experience as sunrise and winter, equinox and eclipse, are not mechanical accidents. They are divinely calculated patterns. Enoch learns that the constellations move in a fixed rotation over centuries. He sees the mechanism of heavenly cycles that govern not just seasons, but generations. This precession, slow, grand, and precise, is what allows the sun and moon to return to their appointed places every year. The 12 constellations, in the circle of the firmament, above the seventh heaven. Even these cosmic giants are beneath God. They operate according to His calendar. This aligns beautifully with Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. Let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark sacred times and days and years. God always intended the stars to function as signals to announce rhythms and seasons, not for superstition, but for holy order. Even in Revelation, signs in the heavens point to divine action. Think of what this means. The same stars you see tonight, the same constellations, are part of a system Enoch saw from heaven. You are not small in a random universe. You are part of a world that is woven, structured by a mind far greater than ours. Your days, your hours, your seasons, they are known. So rather than fearing the future or trying to control time, trust the one who made it. The warning here is subtle, but serious. When we disconnect from God's rhythms, when we try to rewrite time on our terms, we invite chaos. But the hope is stronger. God's plan is precise, His timing is perfect, and you are living in a universe that still obeys His voice. But now, the journey reaches its climax. Next, Enoch will ascend into the final and greatest realm, the 10th heaven, Relevance, the place where God Himself dwells. There he will see the face of the Lord. He is transformed, and everything changes. What Enoch saw there was indescribable, but he tried to describe it anyway. And next, we follow him into the heart of divine glory. Enoch has passed through realms of fire, judgment, paradise, time, and stars. And now he reaches the 10th heaven, called Relevance, the highest of all. Here, there are no veils, no shadows, no symbols. This is the place where God Himself dwells, above all creation, enthroned in unimaginable light. And Enoch, just a man, is brought before His face. In the 10th heaven, there are no creatures of earth, no stars, no seasons, not even angels of judgment, only the Lord, surrounded by the highest orders of angelic beings, the cherubim, the seraphim, the countless fiery ranks who guard His holiness. This is the dwelling of the Father, the center of all being, and the origin of all that exists. Enoch is brought to a place beyond form. He doesn't describe a building or a palace. He describes the presence, overwhelming, terrifying, and radiant. There I saw the face of the Lord, like iron made to glow in fire, and it was impossible to endure the sight. The glory of God is not gentle. It burns like a furnace, yet radiates peace. It is uncontainable, yet still. And Enoch, a mortal, sees it. Around the throne, Enoch sees 10 orders of angels, beings who have never left this heaven. These are not messengers. They are guardians of glory. Cherubim and seraphim stand round about His throne. They never depart. These beings do not blink. They do not look away. They gaze upon God and cry out in perfect harmony, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts." Their voices shake the very foundation of heaven. Yet Enoch is told, "Do not fear." Then something incredible happens. And the Lord with His own mouth called me, saying, "Come hither, Enoch, and hear my word." God speaks to him, not through angels, not through visions, with His own voice, and with that, Enoch is changed. His earthly clothes are stripped away. He is given the garment of glory, not just to witness, but to dwell. I was raised up and stood before the face of the Lord, and He appointed me a scribe. God gives Enoch a divine commission. He is to write down all the deeds of mankind, all generations past, present, and future. He has shown the books of life and judgment. He has told the mysteries of creation, time, the souls of men, and the final end of days. Write all these things which I shall tell you, and all which you shall see. Enoch becomes more than a prophet. He becomes a heavenly witness, entrusted with truths not given to any other man of his time. Throughout Scripture, very few people ever see God's face. Moses saw the back of his glory, not his face. Isaiah saw his robe filling the temple, but fell apart at just the vision. John in Revelation collapses like a dead man when Christ appears. But Enoch, he's taken into God's very presence not as a final reward, but as an active assignment. This tells us something crucial. Heaven is not just a destination. It is a place of calling. Even glory has purpose. This chapter breaks all categories. A man, a human with flesh and fear, is taken before God. Not to be destroyed, not to be judged, but to be spoken to, entrusted, and transformed. What does that say about your own potential? You may not ascend on wings of fire, but your purpose is no less profound. God invites us not just to observe, but to walk with Him, to hear Him, to carry His truth. The warning is quiet but clear. God is not to be approached lightly. His glory is consuming. His face cannot be endured by the proud, but the hope, greater still. Because if a man like Enoch, flawed, finite, can stand before God, so can we, through grace. But Enoch's transformation is not the end. Now we explore what happens next. How is he changed? What role does he now play? And what eternal truths is he entrusted to carry? From man to immortal messenger. What does that look like? Find out in the next chapter. Enoch stood where no mortal had ever stood, before the throne of God, surrounded by fire, song, and light. But the greatest wonder wasn't just what he saw. It was what he became. In this chapter, we witness the moment Enoch was changed, from a man of dust to a servant of eternity. The transformation of Enoch is not the end of his journey. It's the beginning of a new purpose. He is no longer just a visitor in heaven. He becomes a scribe of divine mysteries, forever changed in form, function, and future. After receiving direct instruction from the Lord in Aravoth, the 10th heaven, Enoch is clothed with garments of divine light. And the Lord summoned one of the archangels and said, "Remove from Enoch his earthly garments, and anoint him with oil, and clothe him in the garments of my glory." The transformation is immediate. His human body is replaced, not by death, but by glorification. He doesn't die. He is remade. He is dressed in light, sealed with heavenly oil, and marked as one who belongs now to eternity. Next, God gives Enoch an assignment. Write all the things that have happened on earth, and all that will happen, and record every soul, every deed, every breath. He is handed the cosmic ledger, the tablets of knowledge, and entrusted with the secrets of time, judgment, and salvation. This mirrors the role of other biblical scribes, like Ezra and Daniel, but Enoch's scope is unmatched. His duty spans from the beginning to the end. He becomes heaven's historian, a living archive. The Book of 2nd Enoch tells us Enoch wrote 366 books during his heavenly stay. These were not brief scrolls. They were volumes filled with the secrets of creation, the structure of the universe, the histories of humanity, the prophecies of the end. I wrote down all things, the secrets of the stars, the courses of the heavens, the times of the years. And I showed all to my sons upon the earth. This sacred number, 366, mirrors the days of the solar year, even accounting for the leap year. Enoch's writings bridge heaven and earth, eternity and time. Enoch is permitted to return to earth, but not to stay. The Lord said, "Enoch, you shall return to your house, but you shall not remain among men." He is allowed to deliver the message, pass on his books, and bless his sons, especially Methuselah, with wisdom and warnings. His face is no longer the same. His speech is unlike any man's. The people fear him. They know he has seen something no one else has ever seen. And then, just as suddenly, he is gone again, taken once more into heaven, never to return. Hebrews 11:5 tells us, by faith, Enoch was taken from this life, so that he did not experience death. For before he was taken, he was commended as one who pleased God. Jude 14-15 says, Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesied, "See, the Lord is coming with thousands upon thousands of his holy ones to judge everyone." This isn't just an Old Testament curiosity. Enoch's story becomes part of the New Testament narrative. Why? Because he is a sign, a preview of what it means to be transformed, to be taken, to live beyond the grave, without ever tasting death. What does this mean for you? It means transformation isn't just a myth, it's a promise. It means your purpose might be higher than you've imagined. It means God isn't just watching history, he's writing it with people like Enoch. If God can take a man from earth and turn him into a scribe of the stars, what might he do with you? Enoch's story reminds us that not all will walk with God, but those who do, they are never forgotten, never abandoned. They are taken higher, transformed, made ready for eternity. But even after Enoch's transformation, his journey continues. Next we enter the books of eternity, a revelation of what Enoch wrote, the secrets he was shown, and the divine truths passed down to generations. From angelic calendars to apocalyptic judgments, what did he really record? The next chapter opens his scrolls. Enoch was no longer just a man. He had stood before the throne, been robed in glory, and commissioned as the heavenly scribe. Now we turn to what he left behind. The books of eternity, the divine records he was instructed to write. 366 scrolls of cosmic secrets, prophetic visions, and holy instruction. Today, we open those books. These writings are not myths or curiosities. They were regarded by ancient communities as sacred blueprints, mysteries revealed to a man who bypassed death and returned bearing heaven's mind. Enoch's books reveal the structure of time, the purpose of the stars, the judgment of angels, and the final destiny of humankind. 1. The Book of the Courses of the Heavenly Luminaries. One of Enoch's most famous scrolls describes the sun, moon, and stars, but in far more detail than Genesis. He writes about the laws of light, how the year is divided, how the solstices align with sacred festivals, and how intercalary days must be added to maintain a divine rhythm. The year consists of 364 days. The sun and moon rise through gates in the east, and each season is governed by 4 appointed angels. This isn't superstition, it's sacred astronomy, a calendar that connects creation to worship. 2. The Book of the Watchers. Enoch reveals the story behind the flood, not from Noah's perspective, but from heaven's courtroom. He explains how a group of angels called the Watchers descended to earth, corrupted mankind, and fathered a race of giants, the Nephilim. They took wives from among the daughters of men and taught them sorcery, enchantments, and the secrets of heaven. Enoch is sent as a mediator. He pleads on behalf of the fallen angels, but God's verdict is final. They are cast into darkness until the day of judgment. This book offers one of the earliest glimpses into the origin of evil on earth, from a heavenly perspective. 3. The Book of Parables, Similitudes. This section contains messianic prophecies, And what's shocking is how closely they resemble the New Testament. And I saw one like a son of man, seated on the throne of glory, and the kings of the earth shall fall before him. Enoch speaks of the Son of Man, a figure who pre-exists creation, judges the nations, and delivers the righteous. Sound familiar? Jesus often used the title Son of Man for himself, and the imagery in Revelation echoes Enoch's vision. These writings may be ancient, but their relevance is eternal. 4. The Book of Dreams and the Animal Apocalypse. Here Enoch sees history in symbols. Nations become animals, kings are horns, the righteous are sheep, and the wicked are wolves. I saw a white bull born, and from it came many lambs, but the beasts of the field devoured them. This section compresses all of history, from Adam to the final judgment, into vivid, prophetic imagery. It's apocalyptic storytelling at its most intense, and scholars still wrestle with its layers. 5. The Book of Admonition and the Epistle of Enoch. These books are personal. Enoch writes directly to his children, especially Methuselah. Do not hide these books. Teach them to your children, for the elect generation will seek them in the final days. He warns of coming judgment, of false teachers, of cosmic shaking, but he also gives hope that a remnant will remain, that the righteous will shine like the stars, that death will be undone. Though the Book of Enoch isn't in the Standard Bible, it influenced many biblical authors. Jude quotes it directly. Behold, the Lord comes with 10,000s of his holy ones to execute judgment. Jude 14-15. Jesus echoes its language when he speaks of the Son of Man coming in clouds of glory. Revelation shares imagery with Enoch. Books opened, fire from heaven, fallen stars, 1,000-year reign. This isn't coincidence. Enoch's scrolls were respected and known, especially in early Christian and Jewish communities. So what does it mean that a man once wrote heaven's secrets, and they've survived? It means God hasn't left us guessing. It means even before Sinai, before the prophets, before the apostles, God was speaking, and he still is. Enoch's writings are a call to remember who we are, to rejoin heaven's rhythm, to prepare for what's coming. The scrolls warn us, judgment is real, rebellion has consequences, angels fell. How much more must we walk carefully? But they also promise there is a remnant, there is a redeemer, there is a reward that no eye has seen. We've read the scrolls, we've climbed through the heavens. Now in the final chapter we ask, what does all this mean for us? Why was Enoch shown all this? Why now? In the next chapter, we reflect on the eternal impact of Enoch's journey and how it shapes the way we live today.